Hello, welcome to European Open Briefing for Thursday, December the 20th. I'm Rafael Boyajian, currency analyst at XM.com, and we're going to be taking a look at what's happening in the currency markets today. So there's been widespread disappointment at the Fed's decision yesterday at the FOMC meeting, where markets had been anticipating a much bigger dovish turn in the Fed's rate hike path, but we only got a slight downward revisions to the growth and rate hike projections. So the dollar index did initially rise after that due to that disappointment, but now the dollar is heading lower. We will get to that in a bit as to why the dollar has resumed its downslide. The dollar index currently down by around 0.5% at 96.59. Dollar yen has slipped below the 112 level at 111.85. If you have a look at equities, we can see they are all in the red. We saw Wall Street turning sharply lower after the Fed's decision, and in Asia and in Europe, we can see all the major indices are in the red. The weaker dollar has given the euro and the pound another lift. Both currencies had fallen initially after the Fed's decision, but now they've recouped those losses. Euro had back above the $1.14 level. Sterling currently at 1.2660. But if we have a look at the more risk-sensitive currencies, the Aussie, we can see hasn't benefited that much from the weaker dollar. It's up by around just 0.1% at the moment at 0.7115. So there's a bit of a support coming from better than expected jobs data out of Australia. The Kiwi, on the other hand, we saw a big GDP miss for the third quarter. The Kiwi down. It was down much more sharply before. It's down now. It's down by just 0.3% at 0.6745. Having a look at the Canadian dollar, it's more or less flat at the moment. But yesterday did come under pressure from softer than expected inflation numbers and oil, but there was some support from higher oil prices. Oil prices now have turned lower. We can see WTI down by 3% at $46.70 a barrel, mainly due to the worsening outlook for economic growth next year, which would mean less demand for oil. Gold, though, is up at the moment, mainly down to those lowered rate hike projections by the Fed at $1,250 an ounce. So we can see here that dollar yen has slipped to a 7-week low. It earlier touched 111.78. There was only just a minor tweak to the Fed statement. It said it now expects some further gradual rate hikes as opposed to just further gradual rate hikes. And the forecast for 2019 are that they're now expecting 2 rate increases versus 3 from in the September forecasts. But the reason why the dollar is now under pressure again is mainly because the markets think the Fed is making a mistake, and they think the Fed is unlikely to be able to match its projections. So that's why we're seeing, despite the not so dovish projections, the dollar is now resuming its slide, mainly due to, as markets think that the Fed may not even be able to raise rates even just at one time in 2019. And let's now turn to the risk-sensitive Australian dollar. We can see it fell sharply yesterday, and then now we are seeing just a bit of a rebound. It's now back about the 0.71 level. It earlier touched a 7-week low of 0.7083. So there was stronger than expected jobs growth in Australia in November, and there was some support as well from Chinese news that the People's Bank of China has introduced additional measures to boost bank lending to small and private firms, which would be positive for the Chinese economy, which the Australian economy depends largely on. And turning to the Kiwi, we did see GDP numbers coming in at 0.3% in the third quarter. Forecast were 0.6%, so that's the slowest in 5 years. We can see that big drop in the Kiwi. It's fallen to a 5-week low of 0.6723. It's now slightly firmer. So this does mean that the RBNZ will likely adopt a more dovish tone in 2019. Coming up later today at 12 GMT, we do have the Bank of England to announce its decision. We also had the Bank of Japan policy meeting. They kept their policy unchanged, and we also had an announcement from the Riksbank where they went ahead with that rate hike, and we're seeing a sharp spike in the Swedish krona. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.